Well, Benjamin Netanyahu has added to the expectation of a ground invasion on Lebanon with a speech in which he addressed directly the people of Iran, but in English. Take a listen.
I want to address you, the people of Iran. I want to do so directly, without filters, without middlemen. Every day, you see a regime that subjugates you make fiery speeches about defending Lebanon, defending Gaza. Yet every day, that regime plunges our region deeper into darkness and deeper into war. Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Mohammed Def. Ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach.
Let's get the analysis. Joining us from Beirut is Ayman Mhanna, who's the executive director of the Samir Kassir Foundation, promoting democratic culture in Lebanon and the Arab world, and also encouraging new talent in print media. Sir, thank you for being with us. What's your take on the current situation?
You know, it's been many, many years that we in Lebanon have been saying that we've seen the worst, and actually we haven't. The developments over the last few days have shown that the situation is getting darker every day. The risk of an all-out war are becoming real. I think we're inside it. The ground incursions has started. At the same time, not any single party has conducted any significant reassessment of the posturing and of all the positions they've been repeating, even at the expense of hundreds of thousands of lives lost or in displacement. And this is applicable today to the very arrogant speech by Netanyahu and also the very delusional speech by Naim Qassem.
What kind of leadership, in your view, does Lebanon need at this moment?
Exactly the opposite of what we've been having. So far, the Lebanese government over many, many years has accommodated Hezbollah, has also accommodated plenty of other corrupt leaders in Lebanon who led the country into one of its worst economic and financial collapses, that completely abandoned sovereignty, that did not conduct any proper investigation into the Beirut port explosion. And at the same time, Hezbollah was telling us that they have enough arsenal and enough missiles to completely deter any aggression of Lebanon. We've seen that today we're paying the price of all these crises compounded. Today, the leadership of Lebanon is saying that Lebanon is ready to implement Resolution 1701. Where were they last year? Where were they the year before? Why is Lebanon's diplomacy only waking up now once the Israeli attacks by air or even by land right now have become a reality? This idea that we can only beg the international community to save us through such a resolution doesn't work. What does it mean, the 1701 as a resolution? It means no military presence of Hezbollah south of the Litani. It also means that the Lebanese army, in coordination with the UNIFIL, would deploy, the UN peacekeeping forces would deploy, and Lebanon commits to all previous Security Council resolution, and Israel as well. It also means giving the Lebanese army the means, the resources, the power to implement 1701, to be really present on the ground. It also means securing our borders, the northern borders, the eastern borders with Syria, to prevent further smuggling of weapons to all kinds of non-state actors. So it's not only a slogan, it's a clear plan that has to be articulated in our negotiations with the international community, with Arab countries, with Iran, with Russia, with France, with the US, and we're only seeing incantation by our Prime Minister.
Ayman, as you're speaking, we're showing images of what is happening around, and obviously those images really telling the story, and you're sort of really filling in the gaps for us there. I'm kind of wondering what happens next for the people, because we can talk about the structures, we can talk about politics, we can talk about movements, but the big movement we're seeing of people is one that's creating a humanitarian disaster in Lebanon. And clearly, the emergency services, the structures there, the health structures are overwhelmed by what is taking place. All this because of what is happening in terms of the military aggression coming onto Lebanese soil. What happens to those people, Ayman? What's your message to them? What's your message to the people who are causing these problems?
Absolutely. This is the most important priority, the security, the safety of the people of Lebanon. Nearly 1 million people have been displaced, not only from South Lebanon, but also from the Bekaa, from the southern suburbs of Beirut. Some of them have found refuge in, apartments and hotels, but many are staying in public schools or even staying, on the squares of Beirut. And what is really dangerous is the lack of prospect for a dignified return to areas that could be occupied by Israel or that have been completely destroyed by Israel, in the absence also of any kind of economic capacity, neither by Hezbollah nor by Lebanon, and clearly not by Iran, that has shown some kind of distancing towards this entire conflict, except for some lip service speeches. These people, if they're not able to come back, will pose a very significant, challenge in terms of intercommunal relationship, security, ability to, blend with other people from other religious backgrounds, sectarian and political backgrounds. It's not easy. It could have been easier had Lebanon been in a better economic and financial situation. But we live in a country, compared to the 2006 war, that has a currency that has lost 95% of its value. Today, 80% of the Lebanese people before this war were living under poverty line. We're also living in a situation where people cannot have access to their savings in their banks. So how can we imagine rebuilding South Lebanon, rebuilding the destroyed villages in the Bekaa, and allowing our compatriots go back home if we don't have the resources to do that, and if the international community does not help? And this international community will not help if we go back only to the political situation of October 6, 2023. An entire political rearrangement is required, where Hezbollah recognizes that monopolizing the decision-making in Lebanon on such important sovereign issues is not viable, neither for the country, but definitely not for their own constituency.
Ayman Mhanna, I wish you had more time to discuss, but sadly we need to move on here at France 24. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's Ayman Mhanna of the... You're very welcome, sir. Ayman Mhanna of the Samir Kassir Foundation joining us live from Beirut. Thank you once again, Ayman. We, of course, are watching for all developments.